So, welcome everyone to this episode of the podcast, and I'm delighted to be joined on this episode by Andrew Hines, a lecturer in computer science from UCD. And we're going to cover with Andrew the impact of AI on jobs and the future of work. And it's an area that I'm particularly interested in my role with the Dublin Regional Skills Forum and obviously Rent a Recruiter. And I think, Andrew's perspective on how AI is going to impact jobs. We're going to cover, the concept of AI shepherds, what jobs are going to be at risk, what skills we're going to need in the future, and talk about kind of what's the impact really going to be of AI on recruitment and HR. So, Andrew, welcome. Thanks so much for your time. We're going to dive right into it with a question, Andrew, on when I heard you talk on the Claire Byrne show about how AI is transforming sectors, kind of like translation and coding. Which other areas do you see most being disrupted over the next 5 to 10 years by AI? So a nice way to ease your way into this episode, Andrew.
Thanks, Barry. Thanks for having me. Yeah, in terms of where a job's going, that really is the question that everybody is asking and want to know is when you're filling out your CAO form or when you're going to college, what do you study? Because will this job even be relevant in 5 years' time? And I think that the first thing to say is that a lot of the talk is hype being produced by the big AI manufacturers who are trying to capture the market. So when you hear that there are no jobs, like there's no point studying medicine because you'll be replaced by a robot who'll be able to carry out surgery or do anything, I don't think that's happening anytime soon. And the reason I'd say that is that the AI that we have is Gen AI, which is short for generative AI, and
Yeah.
it's very good at language processing. So it's very good at making up sentences. And what we'd use in technical terminology is we'd say it's stochastic, not deterministic. And what does that mean? It means,
Yeah, you have to explain that a bit.
It means that it's really good at coming up with an answer, but not necessarily the answer. So every time you do it, it works out the probability of what the answers might be, and it gives you an answer, and they may be slightly different every time, and the words may be different. And that works really well for jobs that require language and require you to come up with an answer that is good enough. So if you're writing an email, you can use a chat GPT to help you craft an email, and the answer that it gives you, you may look at it and go, yeah, that's 80% of what I wanted to say. I can modify it a bit and it will work well for you.
Yeah. So the Gen AI, just to jump in there, the Gen AI, I mean, what I find is that it's of course it's universally positive. Like I've never given ChatGPT an idea that I thought it was a bad idea. So is that kind of what you mean?
Well, it generally will. Yeah, they have a positive demeanor. It seems most of them anyway. It's hard to get them to say negative things about you, although they can seem to spiral out of control sometimes. But really, what I mean is that if you give it the same prompt multiple times, you won't get the same answer out of it. And so, for a lot of jobs and a lot of things that we do in our jobs, that's fine. But if I ask you to do your tax return and I want you to get the number for the amount that you have to pay, the revenue know exactly how much that is, and that is a defined number. And when you add up a bunch of numbers, you should get the same answer every time. So that's deterministic. That's where a repeatable thing, like an algorithm in a computer, should be able to do the same things. And that's not what Gen AI does. So for roles where the things that you do are very repeatable but technical, sometimes it can be quite difficult for it to do it. So for example, like emails or reports, it's really useful for those kind of things. But for replacing domain experts or people who know how to deal with the structured databases of a big bank or an airline or something like that, those databases have evolved over decades, and the amount of tacit knowledge involved in the organization and involved in how the data is understood and managed and queried and things, that's not written down anywhere. So getting a Gen AI to actually do that well is really difficult. And I think a lot of people are believing that it will do these things much better than it currently does. So those kind of roles. Other kinds of roles, like Duolingo recently fired a bunch of staff going, well, we can just replace them with AI. And then they very quickly realized that the people who were using it liked the real voices of the real people, and suddenly they had to get the real people back.
Yeah, because we can still tell, right? If it's AI talking or if it's a real person, right?
Absolutely. So my main area of research is actually in speech and audio and AI products for that. So speech recognition and speech synthesis and things like this. So yes, the speech synthesis that we have nowadays, it's come a long way from the kind of the Stephen Hawking kind of very robotic voice that people might be familiar with from 10, 15 years ago. And now if you listen to a voice, it's almost perfect in that you can't tell from a sentence. But when you listen to 2 or 3 sentences, you absolutely can tell, because it doesn't have the same rhythm or way of speaking that a person does. It doesn't have the same pauses or ums or ahs. And it can be mimicked into that, but it's not there yet.
But how soon are we not very close for it to get there? Is that not around the corner?
Yeah, we're getting there closer each day, and jobs like translators. If you go to Google Translate now compared to even 3 years ago, the job it will do on translating, even for languages that aren't as popular or common as English, it will do a very good job. It will translate Irish very well now. But does it translate it enough that you could rely on it for a legal contract? Does it translate well enough that you could rely on it for talks between Putin and Trump? Like, if you've got really key things going on, the nuance that a translator can bring in are really important. And I guess the reason for that comes down to the context. And that's the thing that Gen AI generally doesn't have at the moment, is it doesn't have the context that a worker or an employee who has been in a company for a long time knows the context of the customer, knows the context of the question, understands where the person's coming from.
Sure. And do you see that? I mean, do you see AI ever getting there? I presume you do see a point in the future where it will seamlessly transition into these roles. Maybe, maybe not. I think the jury is still out on whether we're going to have AI that can solve everything. I don't know whether you ever played the old computer games back in the kind of the 80s and 90s, where they had these kind of adventure games that were all text. Sure.
And they had one of these games that was written by a comic author called Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy is sarcastic, is comic, is farcical, and is. What happened though with it is someone tried to. My son found this on YouTube. Someone tried to get ChatGPT to play it, and ChatGPT was given the instructions.
Yeah.
Went, yeah, okay, let's play this, and suddenly it realized, yeah, I can get so far in this, but then I get completely stuck because I don't understand the nuance of human humor and the kind of the sarcasm and the jokes that were going on in it.
No, sure. I mean, and that's something that's we're kind of a good bit away from that. And I think, but just to transition into a concept that you were talking about, AI shepherds, and I think, could you first of all explain what this means, and could you talk to us about maybe what new types of jobs might emerge alongside AI?
So, AI shepherds is a term I coined just out of trying to describe the fact that I guess I see AI agents as being cheap and plentiful, but not wise. They're kind of like sheep, and you need someone to keep them on track, to audit what they're doing, to fine tune them, and to basically stop the pot boiling over when they go out of control. So to me, an AI shepherd is pretty much like a manager. And like if you think about what makes a good manager, I know all managers don't necessarily have the traits of being a good manager, but a good manager is someone who you trust could do the job yourself. So people like managers who go, yeah, they could do my job. So yes, the AI shepherd is someone who could do the things that the AI agents are doing. They understand exactly what it is, but they also understand the bigger picture, how what they're trying to do fits into the company strategy. They understand the kind of the
nuances and the subtleties.
The nuances of it, and they can act as kind of a proxy for the customer, or they can fix the problems, and they can firefight and anticipate what might go wrong, and those kind of things. So these kind of roles, I think there's going to be a huge role in terms of managing the kind of the AI code bots in the farm, and making sure that they know the strengths and limitations of the agents and the touch points with people, and how you can anticipate and make sure that they're integrated properly and fix things when they go wrong.
So talk about then this concept of, because the AI shepherd is the human in the loop, if you like, and there is this common belief that people will always want a human in the loop. For example, in recruitment, where empathy, trust, and judgment are valued. But is it possible that as AI becomes more sophisticated, that people may actually prefer fully automated, data-driven systems that they don't have to wait for, that are responsive, and basically more objective and more efficient? I mean, can you see that, as a possible future?
I kind of hope not, because I think we'll always need a human in the loop, unless we decide to destroy the human race. Ultimately, AI doesn't have agency, and by that I mean it doesn't have rights, it doesn't have accountability. It can't be punished or killed for getting something wrong. So would you hand over responsibility for your life to an animal, to an alien? I don't think so. So why would you happily hand it over to AI? And I think there's this misconception that AI is more objective. It's definitely often more efficient than humans, because it can do things and compute things much quicker than a human can. But it was built with human data. The data that it got was all created by humans, and
so it inherits our biases.
It inherits our biases, and it contains not only our biases, but where do those biases come? It inherits the biases from the cultures in which it was created. So most of the big ones were created in America with American data, and so that means that the kind of the customs and the culture of Ireland gets lost if you replace everything with an American AI. And so you've got to look at it and go, well, is that what we want? And maybe for some things that's fine, because it doesn't really, there is no difference in them. But for certain things, you go, well, actually, no, we don't want to surrender our culture or our values or our sense of self to an AI that is built with data that we don't know the provenance of.
Okay, so we make a conscious decision not to go down that road. That's the option.
I think so. And Geoffrey Hinton, who got the Nobel Prize for AI last year, he was recently talking about it and going, well, how do we protect ourselves from AI? And his theory was, well, we need to kind of give her a mothering instinct. We need to make sure that it's treating people the same way as a mother treats their child. That's the scenario where the child may be less kind of experienced and articulate and intelligent than the mother when it's first born, but it's still able to control them. And so that's the way of protecting ourselves from AI. But to me, I do think that we do need to look at it for the foreseeable future, there's going to be a human in the loop.
Yeah, of course. Okay, that's reassuring, Andrew, to hear. So let's talk about skills and the skills in demand. for a minute, because the World Economic Forum, the data we see there places kind of analytical thinking among the most sought after skills, kind of alongside AI and big data. And roles like we see data analysts and big data specialists continue to grow. But as AI is continually increasingly capable of automating data processing, in your view, what aspects of the data analyst role remain uniquely human, and how do you see the relationship between AI and these roles evolving?
Ironically, I think that the kind of the skills from the past are actually the skills we're going to need for the future, and that as tech is becoming easier to use, it's your knowledge and fundamental skills that really matter. So if you think about kind of what does a degree in philosophy or English or engineering have in common? Well, you learn critical thinking in all of them. You learn analytical skills. You learn communication skills. You learn about the fundamental knowledge and principles that allow you to critique other people's work and debate the merits of new things. And so those are the kind of things that we've always kind of taught in universities to people to give them the skills that they'll need in future life. And I do think that while if you look at kind of data analytics as a job, the things that a data analyst was probably doing even 2 or 3 years ago compared to what they're doing now has changed massively. And that's because you can now do things that, like generating the kind of the graphs or the infographics or the things that can provide insight to people about data. Those kind of things you can get AI to help you do 80% of the stuff that might have taken you a day to do in 5 or 10 minutes. But it's the knowledge of the person about the domain, about the things that the data is telling them, and the understanding as to whether it's a sensible answer or not is where AI still gets things very wrong. There's only so much, but why is that? Well, it keeps coming back to context. That until you can get the AI to fully have all of the history and context relevant, the multimodal context of what are you seeing, what are you hearing, that's what makes the kind of the human compassion works. Is okay. You're judging the person in front of you.
Okay, so you're working in the university, and I mean, outside of critical thinking, which is going to be key for the future, what other skills, should tomorrow's graduates be focusing on to remain competitive in this current kind of AI-driven labor market?
Well, I think that AI literacy is the key thing that everybody needs, no matter what job they're going into. They need to understand what AI is, where it is, because it's going to be involved in everything. Whether it's the tools that you're using, or whether it's a key part of the day-to-day job that you're doing. You're going to be interacting with AI and understanding the issues to do with where the data is coming from and what it's telling you, whether it's believable and right, how to question it and validate what you get out of it, how to look at it and say, well, yes, AI is an appropriate tool that could be useful here, but is the data that I want to put into it, is it mine to give? Like, what are the risks of me using this AI for this thing? Where is the data going? All of these kind of questions that you need to understand every time you're using AI are not necessarily difficult things for people to learn to do, but without them, they can put themselves in a lot of trouble very quickly.
No, for sure. So skills like prompt engineering, these are kind of the new skills that people are going to need to learn. And is that what you mean when you talk about AI literacy?
Oh. So prompt engineering, I kind of look at it and go, actually, the prompt engineering to me is the equivalent of being able to do a good Google search. And that being able to do a good Google search is the equivalent of being able to go into a library and work out how you find the right book. And that those skills are skills that you can be taught how to do and you can become good at. And prompts and the way prompts work are going to continue to evolve. Like every time there's a new version of a Gen AI model coming out. And so the way you engineer prompts is going to evolve as well. So it's learning to learn and learning how to know how to do these things and what ways to do it well are kind of a continuous skill that you're going to need to have.
I like learning to learn. And Andrew, look, so we're coming to the end. So thanks very much. I know you said I know I'm keeping you from heading home here. So thanks so much for staying late to do this. I do appreciate your time. Just to finish on one last question. I know you're working in education and academia. Kind of, how do you see Ireland positioning itself in terms of education, training, and skills development in response to AI?
I think that it's something that in the universities, in schools, we're looking at. I don't necessarily think that AI is something that you need to be teaching to people in primary school. I think you need to be teaching them the same fundamental skills we've always been teaching them. But I think as soon as people are getting access to phones and computers, you need to have a little bit of AI literacy for safety's sake. And then through secondary school and university, we do need to be upping our AI literacy to make sure that the people have the skills they need for jobs. Just on the whole job thing, I do think that like we haven't really talked about jobs and recruitment, and I do think that that recruitment has kind of turned into an AI arms race that is a race to the bottom at the moment. Like it seems to me that like now that candidates can use AI to create CVs, every CV looks slick and is topped up with all of the buzzwords that meet the selection brief or criteria for the thing, whether they have the skills or experience or not. And then AI or the HR people are using AI to
100%,
to read the CVs or outsourcing it to agencies who are doing that. And then like there's even chatbots being used to conduct the screening interviews.
100%. Yeah, it's a bit of an arms race, and we're kind of we are at the coalface, I think. And I think recruitment is one of those sectors, like many, that's ripe for disruption by AI. But you're right. I mean, you've got on the candidate side, you've got candidates using agents to basically apply for thousands of jobs, and then you've got employers using agents to filter the CVs. And yes, we're starting to see it now. You do the initial screening calls, and it'll slowly but surely just move up the chain. I mean, I don't necessarily,
But honestly, my opinion on it is it's kind of a dehumanizing race to the bottom, and I do think that this is going to turn around sooner rather than later, where we stop doing this and go, is it actually worth having like recruitment competitions that are open worldwide and can have hundreds of thousands of CVs into them and using AI for all of the things to help us filter it? Or are we better off actually just having conversations with smaller groups of people and going, well, we'll train the people to do it, and we'll work on developing the skills with the individuals we have, rather than 10 interviews with AI and all of these things. Because like I don't know if you've seen the things about the North Koreans developing kind of fake identities to get multiple roles to fund their regime, like using these fake identities and everything. So I do think that HR is being massively disrupted by AI, and I do wonder where somebody will eventually call stop and go, actually, there was a reason we use humans for these things, because they found us the people we wanted to work with.
Sure, but I mean, humans had. I mean, my view would be humans have failed at recruiting. Like all you have to do is, look at like the number one complaint of candidates is that they don't hear back from companies. So you've got candidates applying to jobs and they never hear back. So I mean, that's just one small problem that AI can solve immediately, right? Because AI can respond to thousands of applications, and it can respond super fast, and it can interview very quickly, so it is having a positive effect in some parts of the process. But certainly for sure at the moment you do need a human in the loop. But I would just question, I totally agree with what you're saying in terms of how it's deployed. But I do think there's a really good opportunity for it to be used well, and for it to serve employers and candidates very well.
There are definitely good uses for it, and I think that over the coming years, we're not going to solve this problem overnight, and it is an arms race where there's the necessity to deploy AI to solve the problems that are being caused by AI. And I think that this is where we need to look at how do we make sure that AI is part of the solution and not part of the problem here.
Right. Okay. Well, what a great way to finish. I think we'll finish like to be continued, Andrew. So yeah, let's check in and see where we're at in 12 months' time. It's moving very fast. I'm sure we might have some new solutions and problems potentially even as well. So let's finish there, Andrew. Thanks again for your time. Much appreciated.
You're very.
Thanks to everyone for listening, and please follow us on Spotify and YouTube and Apple Podcasts, and subscribe, and we will see you next time. Thank you.